want to start off by wishing you all this morning a happy holy days, right? Holidays is an old English word that comes from holy days, and so happy holy days as we kick off this holiday season. You know, it's hard to believe Thanksgiving has come and gone. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving? Anybody? Yeah, all right, fantastic. You know, in all honesty, my Thanksgiving this year was just a little bit different. You know, it wasn't the traditional holiday celebration, Thanksgiving celebration that I normally have. My wife had to fly to St. Louis last weekend, and she actually just landed this morning. And so my wife was gone, my oldest daughter had to work, and it was only my youngest daughter and I who celebrated Thanksgiving. I did try to keep as much of the tradition as I possibly could. I went out and bought an overpriced 20-pound turkey at the Publix. I got ripped off at Publix. You know, the news was saying that there was going to be a shortage of turkeys. There were no turkeys, right? And so I go to Publix, and there was 4 turkeys in the freezer. I panicked, and so I bought a 20-pound turkey at $1.99 a pound, only to come back the next day and see them at 49 cents a pound. And so I fumed the entire time I ate my turkey, but that's a whole different story. So anyway, but my holiday, it was a little bit different, right? We cooked a 20-pound turkey, and just for the two of us, I'm still eating leftovers. I made my very famous homemade cranberry sauce, and I served that as well. But you know, the celebration was just a little bit different. I mean, even the Black Friday was a little bit different. I'm one of those guys who I am up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I am at the outlet mall shopping. And it's funny because I never buy anything on Black Friday, but I'm out there. I get excited. I enjoy this time of year. And even now, Black Friday did not start until Friday morning at like 9 a.m. And I hit the malls. I was still at the malls. They were packed. They were shoulder to shoulder. And the Christmas songs are blaring. And the Christmas lights and the trees are decorated. The bows are out. I just love Christmas. And Christmas time, it's loading, isn't it? I mean, we're getting close. And in fact, I don't even think it's loading. I mean, I think we're full throttle. I mean, we are full on Christmas celebration right now. And once again, you know, I get excited I get a little bit chipper when it comes to Christmas, right? I mean, there's more bounce in my step. I can feel the excitement building up in my household. In fact, it builds up so much it's even a little bit scary. But you know, as we start this holiday season, as we're preparing our hearts and our minds for the celebration of Christmas, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge the way that you think and the way that you view things here over the next couple of weeks. And this morning, I want to start off with an unscientific survey. All right, I want to ask you 5 or 6 different questions. And I don't want the right answer. I want the real answer. You know, if you've been in church for a while, you know what the right answer is, right? You know what the politically correct answer is. I'm not looking for the politically correct answer. I'm looking for the truth. And I know some of you out there thinking, Bertzloff, you can't handle the truth. Well, yeah, I can, okay? I assure you, I can handle it, okay? And if you don't want to raise your hand, that's fine, but by show of hands, I'm going to ask some of these questions. But I want you to be honest with yourself when you answer these questions, okay? Here's the first one. How many of you believe that if your life was not so hectic, I mean, if you just didn't have so much going on, if you weren't always on the run, if you could create a little bit of free space in your life, a little bit of downtime, how many of you believe that if your life was just not so hectic, you would be much more content? Anybody? Yeah, I mean, if I just didn't have to be so many places at once, I mean, my life, I would be more content. I would be more satisfied, more happy with my life. Or maybe it boils down to a relationship. And you're thinking, if only my relationship with my spouse or my child or my grandchild, if only my relationship was healthier, well, then I'd be more content. I mean, maybe you have a fractured relationship. There's a bumping of heads. Or maybe there's no spark. You know, there's just not as much heat in a relationship right now. And you were thinking, if only I could get that passion back, well, then I would be more content. Or some of you, if I just had a relationship, then I would be more content. You know, I just just read one paper, so that's not even research. But I read an article that said 80% of millennials struggle with loneliness, that they're lonely. 61% of adults, us, struggle with loneliness. And so maybe you're thinking to yourself, if only I could develop a relationship, then I would be more happy, I'd be more satisfied, I'd be more content. Or how about this one? We'll make it simple. Okay, how many of you, by show of hands, if you had a new job, now if you're sitting next to your boss, don't raise your hand, but if you had a new job, right, if I just had a different job, if I had a new job, then I would be more content. Right? I mean, we just experienced the Great Resignation in August, where 4.3 million Americans walked away from their jobs because they weren't content, they weren't satisfied, they wanted something different. I mean, let's be honest. When I was a kid, man, I wanted to be a rock star. I can't sing, but I wanted to be a rock star. I can't play an instrument, but I wanted to be a rock star, right? We wanted to be police officers or firemen, and we find ourselves stuck in a cubicle. If we just had a new job, then I would be more content. Or how about this? If you just had a bit more coin, okay? Not necessarily Bitcoin, okay, but if you just had more change, more money, if you had just had a little bit more money, then I would be content. I've heard it asked, how much money is enough money? Just a little bit more, right? Just a little bit. If I had just a little bit more, then I would be content. Or what about the reciprocal? Okay, which would be maybe you've got this minimalist mindset. If only I had less stuff. If only I had less stuff to manage, less stuff to worry about, less stuff to take care of, then I would be content. And I know some of you out there are thinking, if First Off would just zip it, I would be more content, right? So you just want me to stop. But I'll maintain that we have been drinking ocean water, the ocean water of the marketing of our culture, of our world. We keep on downing it like it's going to satisfy us, and it doesn't. I think that we have been discipled in discontentment. By our culture, we've been discipled in discontentment, and we're experts in dissatisfaction. It's been said before that when you look at what people celebrate, you can see what they value. When you look what people applaud, what they get excited about, what they put time, energy, and effort into, when you see that, you can see what they value, how much it means to them. Hopefully here at Our Savior, you can see that what we get excited about is Jesus and Jesus alone. That because of what He has given and done for us, we have life. And hopefully you can see that what we're excited about is living low as we love Jesus, as we strive to serve Him and grow in our relationship with Him and become more Christ-like. As we love Jesus, love people, and serve the world. That's what we're excited about here at Our Savior. But I just want you to take back, okay, and I want you to see we are on the very precipice of the Mount Everest of Western celebrations, aren't we? We are on the precipice. We're climbing, we're there. Celebration of Christmas and the Christmas season, the holiday season, it is on. And when you take a look at what our culture values, when you take a look at what our culture gets excited about, what does it teach us about our culture? Because straight up, there's nothing like this season. This season gets a lot of attention. And once again, I love Christmas. I get all excited. I was listening to 100.7 like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, 100.7 was already playing Christmas music. Now the Joy FM 91.5 is playing Christmas music 24/7 all the way through New Year's. I love it. I love the lights. I've got one tree up already. I'm going to put another one up today and start stringing lights. That's not my favorite part of Christmas, but I love the lights. I love going to the malls. I love all of the excitement. I love it all. I really and truly do. But you got to understand, from this point on, we are going to be absolutely, positively bombarded without mercy. You are going to be pelted with advertisement after advertisement after advertisement. And they all have one particular message. And that's what I kind of want to dig in today a little bit. I want to dig underneath that message that you and I are being fed, that we're drinking in and day out. You see, because I think there's a spiritual dynamic to the message that we're receiving. There's some spiritual warfare that's going on. And I'll maintain that many of us, we just don't spot it. We just don't recognize it for what it is. And so I want to challenge the way that you think, okay? And here's the message that we have been receiving since October 31st, when I saw the first Lexus commercial come on. All right? The bow was on October 31st. Okay? And this is the message. It's oversimplified, but this is the message that we are receiving over and over and over again. Your life stinks. Your life stinks. And you're missing out. Okay, and that's what it is. The message that we're hearing over and over again is you are missing out. You're missing something and your life stinks. But don't fear. Never fear. The season is here, and we have the answer. We have what you need to fulfill your life, to give you peace, to give you satisfaction, contentment, and joy. And all of a sudden, we get pelted with these advertisements of things that we just need to go out and buy or achieve or experience. You got to get out and start shopping now. Why? Well, there's supply chain issues. We don't know if the product that you want is going to be there in a couple of weeks or not. And so you got to get out there and you got to get it now. If you want to be happy and fulfilled, you want your family to be content, got to get out there and get it. And you better hurry up. And the truth is, sometimes it's not stuff. Sometimes it's an idea, right? Like Clark Griswold had this revisionist history, right? How yesteryear was perfect and how Christmas when I was a kid was just everything was just right. And so we have this idea of having the perfect Christmas celebration, the perfect holiday celebration. And it might not even just be, it might even be the nostalgia of things. You know, like Pastor Futch, who binge watches the Hallmark Station. You know, I mean, he's there, he's watching the Hallmark Station all the time. And you know, he's thinking to himself, you know, if only it would snow. And I could end that whole, you know, I give a kiss to my wife and everything would be just right, just perfect. So it's not just stuff. There's the idea, there's the nostalgia, the fear that we're lacking something, the fear that we're missing out. And my friends, the marketers, they bait us. They bait us and we just get sucked in. I mean, oftentimes it's even unintentionally, right? We just get sucked into this train of thought. Well, my challenge for you this morning, and over the next couple of weeks, I wanted to give you some lenses to which you can see clearly. Okay, you can see clearly what's taking place this season. And I want you to enjoy the season. I mean, I do. And I don't want you to lose any of the excitement. I want you to participate. I want you to go over to Busch Gardens and go to Christmas Town. I want you to go to the malls. And I want all of the excitement, all of the lights, and all of that good stuff, the singing. But I don't want you to buy into the lies. And at the end of it all, be frustrated and be disappointed in what took place. I want you this season to experience the joy that is really part of this season. I want you to be reinvigorated, re-energized. I want you to experience the hope, the certainty that this season brings. And to do that this morning, I want to delve into Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I know it's kind of a strange text for the holidays, for Advent, but Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Now, Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. The word Ecclesiastes in Hebrew is koheleth. It simply means teacher. All right, and the teacher, with all of this wisdom, is going to teach us something, right? In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11. He, God, has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. Okay, and I want to focus not on he has made everything beautiful in its time. That's a whole other sermon. I want to focus on this one line. He has also set eternity in the human heart. He has set eternity in the human heart. See, we have a longing. We have this desire, this desire for eternity. God set it. God created us in his image, right? In the image of God, he created us. And so he set this desire, this longing in the human heart. And yet some of us, we experience this thing where something's missing. You ever hear, if you grew up in the church, you ever hear those statements like, you know, there's a God-sized hole in your heart that only God can fill, or there's a God-sized box in your heart that only, you know, and that's where this comes from, right? That's where those little sayings come from. Okay, we've got this longing, this desire for eternity in our heart. And yet so often we walk around and it's like something in our life is missing. We have this gap of eternity. Oftentimes we walk around and we think to ourselves, there's got to be more to life than what I'm experiencing. I mean, what is this life all about? Surely there is more. Surely I can be more. Surely people can view me differently. I know that I'm missing out. And my friends, the marketers, oh man, they understand this. I mean, they've got it down pat. And you know what our default mechanism is? You know what we do always? We always try to fill the gap of eternity with the temporary. Don't we? Oh, man, if only I could have a 1993 Ruby Red Anniversary Edition Corvette. If I had that, oh, my life would be complete. I'd be so happy. I would be fulfilled. Or if only I could have a promotion at work. If only I could, whatever it is. And we attempt to fill the gap of eternity with the temporary. And it works for a little while. I had that 1993 Corvette for about 3 weeks before I sold it. I got it, and I was like, that's it. I sold it. It lasted for 3 weeks. I wanted it for 10 years. It lasted for 3 weeks. And we always try to fill the gap of eternity with the temporary. And my friends, we have these high water marks in life. We have these moments in life where everything just kind of comes together, where you achieve what you were striving for. You received what you desired. But when you try to fill the gap of eternity with the temporary, it's like contaminated gasoline in your car. It's going to run for a little bit, but sooner or later, the sand or the gunk is going to gunk it up and the car is going to stop. And in all honesty, we're all in the same situation. Whether you're a believer or whether you're an atheist, no matter where you're at, we are all in the same boat. We're all in the same situation. You can see it. We are constantly push our hope forward, don't we? I'm talking to myself here because we do this. When you were a kid, if only I could have a little bit more freedom. If only my parents would cut me a little bit of slack, and they cut you slack. And then it's only if I could have a car. If only I could graduate high school and go to college. If only I could meet that special person. If only I could graduate from college. And we're continually pushing our hopes forward. And we achieve what we set our hearts on. We receive it, we obtain it, and all of a sudden, we're not satisfied. There's some great days. Remember the day that you were promoted? That was a great day, wasn't it? You remember the day you were promoted? Obviously, nobody in here was ever promoted. Okay, remember the day you got your job at McDonald's, right? Let's go to something. Remember your first car. Remember your first car. Not the rusted out jalopy that your parents gave you, but your first car. Okay, I actually had one of these. I had a 1977 Chevy Vega wagon. Okay, but mine was green. Mine was like 6 different colors green because of all the Bondo in it. It had a deluxe chrome luggage rack on the top, the simulated wood grain paneling going down the side. It was beautiful. I would drive it. I had it when I was in college. I worked at a place called Chapel Hill, and it was a mall on top of a hill, Chapel Hill. And my car would not make it up the hill. I always had to park my car at the bottom of the hill and walk up. My Vega wagon would not make it up the hill. Anyway, but remember when you got your first car? Remember how excited, not that car, yeah, your first newer car. Remember your first newer car? I had one of these too, a Saturn SL2. All right? You got that car, right? You were going to take care of this car. You didn't want to roll down the windows because you thought the new car smell would disappear. Okay, this was your car. And then in short order, what happened? You want something different. You want more. You want something new. Or you climb the corporate ladder. You finally got that corner in the office, or that office with the corner. Okay? And all of a sudden, you achieved your dreams. You achieved your goals. You're the boss. And yet all of a sudden, you get bored. And once again, I want more. We're pumping contaminated gas into the engine of our hearts. And sooner or later, it no longer fulfills. And what do? We start looking around, right? We look at what others have. And we see what's seemingly making them happy, what's seemingly making them fulfilled. It's the happiness facade. We start looking around and we start longing for what they have. Do you have longings? I do. I struggle with it all the time. Right? And then all of a sudden, Apple comes out with a new iPad. Okay, this iPad, the iPad Air, it's smaller than the normal iPad, but yet it's bigger than the Mini. It's not your computer. Your computer is too big. This is smaller, but it's not so small like it's your cell phone. It's in the middle, and it's going to make you happy. And I'm not knocking it because it might be on my list. But we always think that is going to bring us joy, don't we? We always think, if only I could get it, then I would be happy. The media tells us what we need. We just need some lights, we need some snow, a scarf, and a new Lexus. And if we had that, I want you to understand that we are fed a perpetual lie that unconsciously, I'll maintain, we buy into it. And we bite on the bait, and we take it in all the time. And my friends, it works. The lie works for 2 reasons. We have the whole of eternity in our heart. And we also think there's got to be more than what I'm experiencing. There's got to be more to life than what I'm living. And all of a sudden, that longing, that desire for something slips in to coveting. Okay, and what is coveting? I mean, coveting is this sinful desire to have something that somebody else wants or has. You know, you try to scheme, you try to get it from them, you try to take it, right? I mean, two of the commandments are focused on coveting. Okay, and underneath the coveting, underneath that desire, underneath that longing, is this train of thought that, God, I deserve more than what I have. And all of a sudden, we're making these accusations against God. Accusations against his goodness, accusations against his sufficiency, accusations against his love, and that he's providing for us all that we need. And we get caught up in this vicious cycle. If only I could have this, then it'd be, oh, if only I could have this, if only I could achieve this. And I think that if we could sit back and just look at our train of thought and how we live, we would sit back and we'd feel like a fool for thinking it was real. And this has been going on for thousands of years. Solomon, in all of his wisdom, in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 says, the eye is always seeing, but never satisfied. The ear is always hearing, but never full. What Solomon was saying is this pursuit, this pursuing in vain. It's like a dog trying to catch its tail. And when it finally catches its tail, it doesn't know what to do. And my friends, into all of this mess, into all of this longing, and into all of this desire, for to us, a child is born. To us, a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Into this mess, Christ is born. Into this mess, the divine invasion begins. And Jesus, with his entrance into the world, Jesus gives us the answer. He solves our problem of eternity. He solves our problem of stuff. C.S. Lewis, Clive Staples Lewis, right? He was a professor of English literature, both at Oxford and at Cambridge. Okay, he was a lay theologian. We know him by his books and even the movies. Okay, and C.S. Lewis once wrote this. He says, if I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world. I mean, powerful. If I look in this world and nothing in this world is fulfilling that gap of eternity in my heart, if nothing in this world is bringing me joy and peace and satisfaction that doesn't just kind of go away, well, then obviously I'm not made for this world. C.S. Lewis, using logic, okay, he says that empiricism doesn't work. Now, empiricism is this philosophical train of thought that many of us buy into without ever recognizing that we buy into it. And empiricism very simply states this. If you want to know what truth is, if you want knowledge, if you want the true knowledge, well, then it's only experienced through the five senses. If you can't hear it, see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, did I get all five? If you can't do that, well, then it's not real. I mean, you ever start talking in a group of people about God, and ultimately there's one guy that will always say, well, if you show me God, then I'll believe. Well, that's empiricism. Okay, and C.S. Lewis very clearly, very succinctly states that empiricism is false. It does not work. He logically dissolves it. And he turns to John chapter 1. I mean, what up? You know this verse, right? In the beginning. Okay, in the very start, it's reminiscent of Genesis. In the beginning was the Word. You see that word, it's capitalized, right? It's Jesus. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. A very popular verse. I just want to point out two quick things. Okay, in the beginning, at the beginning of time, at the beginning of creation, was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. In other words, Jesus, the Word, was not a creation of God. Jesus, from everlasting to everlasting, always was. Jesus is God. And only Jesus, the eternal, can fill the gap, the hole that's in our hearts. Only Jesus can bring that satisfaction, that joy, and that peace. Not the stuff, not the nostalgia, not the experiences. Only Jesus. St. Paul writes to the church in Colossae, to them God has chosen to make known among the Gentiles the glorious riches of this mystery. Okay, Paul, what is the glorious riches of this mystery? Which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Christ in you is the hope of glory. See, theologians say we have union with Christ. Christ is in us. Christ is with us. And because Christ is in us, we have the hope of glory. Well, real quickly, okay, when Jesus entered the world, when he became incarnate, Almighty God, the one who created the heavens and the earth, who was with God and was God at the beginning, he took on human form. He became one of us. He lived a perfect life, but yet he allowed himself to be sacrificed in our stead. And what Jesus did is he took upon himself all of our sin. Everything that you ever said, did, or thought that went against God's will. Everything that you ever will think, say, or do that goes against God's will. He took upon himself. He paid the debt. He suffered the penalty that you and I deserve so that we would never have to. And so when God looks at us, he no longer sees your sin, but he sees the righteousness, the holiness, the perfectness of Jesus. We are simul justus et peccator. We are at once justified, declared innocent, forgiven, and yet we are sinful. I shared this with you before. You and I are made holy. We're not holy in of ourselves, but Jesus imputes his holiness to us. If my wife was cold and I took off my coat and put it on her, I'm imputing her with warmth, right? She's not warm in and of herself. I'm giving her warmth. The same thing is true of us with Christ. We're not holy in and of ourselves, but because Jesus paid the debt, he imputes his righteousness to us. And so when God looks at us, he doesn't see your sin. He doesn't see my sin. But he sees the holiness, the righteousness of God. I don't know about you, but that makes me excited because I know myself. And so God looks at us with his righteousness. And then part 2, through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. I mean, he's the creative agent of all things. My friends, the blessings that we have in this world is all God's grace. Jesus provides all things, and he fills the gap. I hope your Thanksgiving was phenomenal. I was hearing some stories of people walking, and they shared some stories with me. It's like they're glad their extended family is gone. Okay, and that's how they just kind of shook their head, and they just kind of walked in. And I said, no, one person came and said, you got a new car? She's like, no, it was destroyed over the weekend. It was like, I'm just glad to be by myself and be back at church. Okay, but if you have one of those family dynamics at Thanksgiving, where when everybody gets around the table, if it's not a relational powder keg that's ready to blow off, you're an outlier, right? Okay? Yeah, because I know for a lot of us, the mother-in-law comes over to the house, and for all of us, you're just one criticism wrapped in a compliment away from a grenade going off in the dining room, And I got to tell you, I've got some holiday quirks. Maybe you've got these too. I've got some holiday quirks. I got traditions and things that I just like to have. Okay, and if I don't have it, it's like things just don't seem right. Every Christmas morning, my kids, are 24 and 23 right now. I'll still walk in screaming, wake up, Santa Claus came at 4 o'clock in the morning to make them get out of bed and open gifts. I just have these traditions, right? I've got my holiday quirks. I'm on Thanksgiving Day, I've always made a turkey. I stuff a turkey, I stick it in the oven, and I sit down and I'll watch the Macy's Day Parade, and then I'll watch the National Dog Show afterwards. I love dogs, but I'll watch the National Dog Show. And I'll force my kids to do it with me. It's one of those deals, this is a holiday tradition, you're going to enjoy it. But when we have our holiday traditions and family comes over, it can get ugly, right? It can get messy. We can be challenged with our holiday traditions. And I know it's going to get messy. I know the kitchen is going to be a disaster, and I know things aren't always going to go right. And when family comes over, it can very quickly devolve into a Jerry Springer show. I understand this. But you know what? When our identity is in Christ, when we recognize the truth that we are in him, okay, what my mother-in-law thinks, or what the extended family thinks, or what doesn't go right, it doesn't mean anything. Because I'm in Christ, and Christ is in me. My identity is in him, and because of that, we can just enjoy each other. And we can just love each other. And we can clean up the mess later. It's no big deal. See, I want to challenge you. I want you to see clearly that the real celebration of Christmas is that Christ has come and will come again. I mean, I love the lights, I love the music, I love the presents, I love the excitement, and I want you to enjoy all of it, because I am. I got stockings at the fireplace, I've got all of it, right? And so I'm going to enjoy the season. But we can never forget the truth that God in his love does not leave us abandoned in the gap of eternity. He fills the gap for us. And my friends, one day Jesus is going to come back. And he's not coming wrapped in swaddling clothes and placed in a manger. The trumpet will sound, and Jesus will descend, and every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Jesus, the Redeemer, will bring our redemption to full. He'll take us to that place that he has prepared for us before time began. Jesus has put to death. And so this Christmas season, we celebrate. We can enjoy all the commercials. We can enjoy everything. But my friends, never lose sight of the truth that God comes to us. God came to us, and he is coming again. And when we can see through all those perpetual lies, and we can focus on Jesus, your joy, your excitement, your peace, man, it's going to grow exponentially. For to us, a child is born. To us, a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, Emmanuel, God with us. We pray.